What's up guys, welcome to a new video. Hopefully keep this one short and sweet for you. We've got this very cool VE drift ute. Yeehaw. So it's Karma Blue, which is a very nice color. Love the color. As you can see, hydro handbrake, all the berries. Drift car, drift ute. How sick. Yeehaw. So it's only here for a tune. Needs some drivability stuff sorted out, transient things like that. But I did want to film it because the cam selection for this is sort of interesting. Not often that you see cam of this sort of specs used in a car like this. Not aimed at peak power numbers, but obviously being a drift car, very much aimed at mid-range. And so it's a 1285C, which is actually a grind from Crow that's intended for carby conversions on LSs. So it's a very, very tight lobe separation. I'll find the exact specs for you before I put them in the video so I don't sound silly and get them wrong. But yeah, it's a very tight lobe cam. The bloke who put the combo together was very much looking at keeping things easy on the valve train because he knew that being drift orientated, it was going to spend lots of time at high RPM, extended periods of high RPM usage, which you don't want to be loading up the valve train with heaps of lift and stuff like that too much when you're doing that sort of thing. Lower lift, a little bit easier on the valve train, and yeah, really tight lobed. So I'm going to do some looking into exactly what the cam is, but I figured it would be very interesting for us to have a look at these results, perhaps even compare them to other manual cars that we've done with the 1287, just to see the difference in mid-range, that low end to mid-range, see what it does as far as power goes and all the rest of it. So, but apart from that, it's nothing super special, just a stock bottom 6 litre manual SSU with a hydro handbrake, and the boys drifted down at QR and all that. So anyway, thought it'd be interesting. So the 1285C is a 233, 237, 595, 595 on a 108 LSA. So really, really tight lobe. I don't mind the specs. The specs sound pretty good. We've done quite a few cams with like, quite a few cars with that sort of 130, you know, early 130s to late 130s, even 233, 233. Camtech used to do a 233, 233, which we really liked. And then we actually did a turbo ute that came here with a Kelford 233, 233. So they were both very nice cams. We're a big fan of those sorts of specs. But yeah, interesting to see such a tight lobe separation on a fuel injected 6 litre. So we're interested to see how this goes, how it plays out. We've, you know, been surprised in the past. We always like being pleasantly surprised. So keen to see how it goes and what it does. Let's get it. All right, guys. Well, that was cut short before it even really got started. So it is having an issue throwing engine light. Not happy over like 3,500, 4,000 RPM is because the crank angle sensor appears to be cooked. It's either the sensor or the wiring. But either way, to get it at CAS, need to pull the starter off, which means this driver's side extractor has to come off, which means it's got to be done on a hoist. Unfortunately, at the moment, we need a hoist free in the morning, so it's going to have to wait until tomorrow after that job is done before we can start pulling it apart. So yeah, a bit of a pause.
We have a crank angle sensor, and we do have replacement plugs and stuff if it's a wiring issue, but I don't know. At the moment, I'd probably say it's probably just a sensor.
Yep. Anyway, it will get fixed, just not now. Just going to put a bit of a pause on it till tomorrow. Rightio guys, so finally got time to get this onto the hoist so that Rex can replace our crank angle sensor. Hopefully get this thing sorted, making some noise back on the dyno to do what it's meant to do.
I'm trying to decide because that wiring looks alright at the plug.
Yep.
My only concern is that up here, this loom, like that cloth tape's obviously not factory, so that loom's been repaired before. But it goes all the way up the back of the head, so I'm really not sure. So I don't know what to do, because the only way to get that part of the loom out is to pull it all off the box. Having said that, it's only about 3 plugs, so maybe it's not that hard. Unplug it off the box and pull it out the top, and I don't know, it's just if I unwrap it, I'm going to have to rewrap it. I really don't want to have to do this twice. I don't know, we'll talk about it off camera.
Alright, I've just come over here away from the compressor, but what we are going to do is Rex is going to look up the error code, try and find out exactly what wire is sensor circuit A, which is the one that's the error code saying it is. And then we're just going to backpin that wire and just buzz the rest of the wires that are in that little part of the loom and just make sure there's no short to another wire. So as long as they buzz, or they don't buzz I should say, as long as they're not shorted to another wire in that little bit of loom, we'll leave it alone. Put it back in with a new sensor, we should be good to go. But obviously if they buzz, there's a short in there somewhere, we'll pull it apart and look into it. Rightio guys, so that's basically a wrap on this thing on the dyno. There's still quite a bit to do on the street just to get it behaving 100% the way it should be and working out a lot of the droppability things. Now there was so much work that Rex put into the transients and the injection timing and try and just get this thing to behave well. So like we talked about, really, really tight lobe separation, particularly for, you know, rectangle port headed car, that has a trade-off of having a lot of dramas trying to get the thing to behave. It's one of the great things about having really wide lobe separation is it's just so much easier to get them to behave and do what they're supposed to do. So the heaps of overlap is what causes it. It causes a lot of things. Nothing you can't work through. It's you know, a good tuner will be able to tune through it and make it work and make it behave and do everything it should do. It just means a lot more work. That's all it is. But that's fine. So anyway, with some results. So this is how it was when it got here, 432. So that's this morning before the changes were made, and now it's 443. So 443, the red one is this ute. So we've brought up some other graphs from other cars, so you guys know that we're a huge fan of the 1287 cam. That's the cam we like to put in pretty much all rectangle ports. So we figured we'd compare that cam for you guys so you can see. So this 494 was the last car we did a 1287 in, was that Voodoo Blue VE. It was also a manual, but it had CNC heads. So as you guys know, 494, it was a bit of a freak. We've only had two make those sorts of numbers, and you can see it sort of made not a whole lot more power down here, but obviously a fair bit more up in the higher RPM, which is typical of something with a wider lobe separation. That's what you'd expect. The one thing you get with a real tight lobe separation is you sort of get a lot more mid-range and down low. So one that we did do that we can remember was manual with the 1287, and stock heads was another ute, which is this one here. Ironically, made pretty much the exact same power, but you can see the difference down here. Look at the difference in the torque from sort of, you know, that pretty much it would be from all the way from 2.5 all the way up to 4.5. This ute here with the 108 lobe separation is making way more torque and a lot more power down here in this mid-range, and that is the difference. So around the same up top as the 1287 was, in almost the same setup, but yeah, you can definitely see the difference down here. So it is interesting to see how much difference the CNC heads make. yeah. Anyway, we always knew that the CNC heads weren't worth heaps of power, particularly in rectangle ports, because rectangle ports already flow so well. But I must say, it seems like the port development's getting better. The more we do, the more the CNC seems to make more difference, and it's interesting to see how much difference it makes down low here with the 1287 with the CNC port heads sort of making as much torque or more torque and power down here as this really tight lobe. But anyway,
I will say that particular car was it was a freak.
Yeah, that car was a freak. It would be interesting to see what a cam like this would do with the CNC ported heads. That would be interesting. But anyway, the fact is, the car does what it's aimed to do, which was make a heap of mid-range grunt and a heap of torque down low because it's a drift car.
Yeah, flat.
Yeah.
Flat, the torque curve is should do really well what he wants to do. But.
So for its intended purpose, it's a really, really good setup. It's going to work really well. Like I said, just meant a lot of work for Rex to get it to behave. But
yeah, it has. It took me, for a manual car, it took me quite a while to get this thing right than it normally would.
Like I said, it's all things that can be tuned. It just makes more work. But
yeah,
you know, any good tuner should be able to make it work and behave.
The transients was the big one, which is sort of because with the tight lobe, like this thing idles at like 75 kPa. There's almost no vacuum at idle, so
there's not much window.
Your transients off idle is really difficult.
Which obviously in a drift car where you're always on and off the throttle heaps, on the handbrake, off the throttle, it's very important for the transients to be on point. You don't want to have flat spots, you don't want to have dips, you don't want to have it trying to stall. Which is one of the owner's main complaints was like trying to do handbrake entries into corners and stuff like that. He reckons it was trying to die and stall, and then obviously had mad flat spots trying to get back on throttle. So that's the really important thing and why it's here. It's not really here for this. It's really here to get it to drive properly and eliminate all those drivability problems that he's having, so that he can actually take it out and drift it and have it be consistent and on point all the time.
I think I've got most of them. The transients now I'm pretty happy with. And right from the start, I started playing around with those idle settings. So it's the rolling idle and things like that. So I'm pretty sure he'll be happy with it now. Another thing that was doing, I've noticed with a couple of manual cars now, is they have weird timing dits and get a lot of bucking going on at parts throttle. And it's not actually because of the cam overlap, it's because of the spark smoothing in the ECU.
Yeah.
Going a bit stupid when you have a big cam. So I spent a lot of time trying to get that I had to do it with the blue one as well, and I've had to do a lot of it with this one, obviously being the tight lobe. The idle low throttle, low RPM, the idle and RPM varies a lot. The ECU gets a little bit overreactive, and it just turns into a problem that just makes it really rough and yuck to drive. So I've got most of it out, I think. I'm just gonna test drive it on the road a little bit and just see how it feels, and it should be pretty right, I think.
Yeah. So
it did take some work though.
Yeah, a lot of work. And like I said, guys, there's still a lot of work to go. This is just, it's done on the dyno. We've got a power figure for you. But yeah, just interesting to compare this cam and what it is. It's, like I said, it's not the sort of cam that we'd usually go for. But like I always say, we don't know everything either. So we're always keen and happy to see results from different things that we wouldn't normally use, and see how they stack up compared to things we do normally use. And yeah, always fun. Always enjoy doing that.
Case in point. I've had to play with transients in Gen 3s before. This is the first Gen 4 E38 ECU that I've ever had to touch the transient fueling.
Yeah,
it's always been,
actually modify it.
It's always just been mint.
Send it away from its standard modelling.
Yeah, so this is the first one. It's how extreme it sort of gets with...
Yeah, and to be fair, not many people would put a 108 lobe separation cam in a rectangle port. So it is sort of out of the ordinary, basically. Like I said, never had any doubts that it wouldn't work. It's just always fun to compare. But yeah, it's gonna be awesome for what they intend to do with it. And happy days. So now it's just a matter of getting it on the street and making sure that in all of those situations that he's gonna find on the track, on throttle, off throttle, coming, stabbing off the throttle, go handbrake and slowing down and getting it to almost stall and making sure that it recovers and the throttle body's doing everything it should be doing and stuff like that.
Yeah, time to take it into town and go do some handbraking.
Yeah, that's it. Let's go swing off this handbrake around the pub.
Do some laps around the monument.
Bye. Anyway, guys, that's about it. We'll spend some time getting this sorted out. But yeah, you should be able to see this thing out on track at your local Southeast Queensland drift arena. We'll get some stickers on it, get some onsong branding all over it, and yeah, get it out there. Thanks for watching, guys, as always. Hope you enjoyed. Always love bringing you some data. The bloke who actually put this motor together for the owner and put this cam in it, he wants us to do some testing for him on some new cams that he's developing, some custom ground things and stuff like that. So always fun to make videos and bring those to you. Give us our opinion, show you the data, let you form your own opinions, but it's always good fun. Thanks for watching anyway, guys. Smash like, smash subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out, see you, bye.